genoux de la tyrannie. L'étendard sanglant élevé, l'étendard sanglant élevé. Entendez-vous dans vos campagnes mugir ces féroces soldats? Ils viennent jusque dans vos bras, égorger vos fils et vos compagnes. Aux armes, citoyens, formez un bataillon. Marchons, marchons, d'un sang pur, amoureux de nos sillons.
Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome to a brand new season of European Le Mans Series racing. And if that introduction does not stir you to your very soul, then there's clearly something very, very wrong indeed. A very warm welcome to Lucas Delay, where so many people are excited to get a new season going after 5 and a bit months. We're in Circuit Paul Ricard to the south of France, about 45-minute drive to the east of Marseille, not far from Nice either. And it is a great place to be in a new 6-race campaign, where we will be visiting Italy on 2 occasions, Imola next, in fact, and Monza after that, the other side of the 24 hours of Le Mans, which is not part of the championship, but plenty of the teams on display here today will be heading there. And we also have journeys to Spain, to Belgium and to Portimao to look forward to. But to the matter in hand, day 1 of the season, day 2, I suppose, if you include qualifying. Yesterday, the 4 hours of Lucas Delay set to begin in a little over 15 minutes' time. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm delighted to be joined once again for season 2022 by Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com. And again, glorious conditions and some fabulous race cars all assembling on the grid.
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the European Le Mans Series. Glorious conditions here at Lucas Delay. 16.4 degrees it is. First of 6 races, of course, that take us on a round trip around Europe over the coming months. Le Castellet here in April, then Imola and Monza. That's a replacement for the planned race at the Hungaroring in July. The 4 hours of Barcelona, then Spa-Francorchamps in September, and with the season finishing in Portimao in Portugal. Lots of sunshine, I feel, to come here, and the sunshine's coming out too, with just happier people, more people these races. We do have fans here at Le Castellet in some limited access here, but great news for of course, the senior series, the FIWC, with the 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, welcoming fans back into the paddock for the first time in a couple of years. There is the McLaren F1 monstrously badly mistake refueling Francois Perraudin. We'll talk about that one a little later. The number 69 car, Oman Racing with TF Sports, and the first ever entry into, in fact, entries plural, for a team with the Gulf region flag flying, and very proudly so for Ahmed Al Hati.
14 corners around this place, 5.7 kilometres, split into 3 sectors. The first actually quite fast, but has a very technical close to it through turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Then you've got the middle sector, which is practically the whole of the Lindois de Mistral, the Mistral straight into a very fast approach to turn 8, which is Signa corner. And then you need a car that is good through the corners through the final sector, because that's where we get to the Double Droite de Beausset, Garlaban, and then Virage du Pont, Virage du Lac to end the lap. And if your car is good down the straights, then you've got to compromise some of the setup in sectors 1 and 2, as we've seen plenty of cars doing already this weekend. The inverse of that is that you make the car very draggy, but then it's not so good down the straight. So that's the reason why this place is a test track. It deals with all sorts of different corners, high speed, low speed, technical, and then just letting the car flow. And it's very tricky to know exactly which way to go in terms of setup. Maybe we, in the GT category, look completely towards the 32 Ferrari of Rinaldi Racing, because Mimo Gidley of the USA, a cracking job in the new rule set, which only allows bronze drivers drivers into the LM GTE qualifying. It's only 10 minutes as well, but that brings it into line with the FIA World Endurance Championship and their GT AM category. And I actually think it provided a really good period of 10 minutes, Graham, where, like we see in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, times continue to improve throughout.
Absolutely right, and it's been a bit of a work in progress, hasn't it, the qualifying format? But I think they've nailed it. Matt Bell there, and welcome back to the European Le Mans Series to Max. Going to be a busy boy this year. Already comes here as the Asian Le Mans Series champion with Nielsen Racing and takes that crew through here. Matthias Pritz, one of the names at Inter Europol, with a 3-car entry this year, as do United Autosports, and in both cases a single P2 car and a pair of Ligier P3 cars. Number 15 car, a very different look to the RLRM Sport car with the Feldmeier colours.
And the number 4 machine, which is in position in 4th place in LMP3. It'll be Tom van Rompuy to start the DKR engineering machine. DKR defending champions in the European Le Mans Series from last year, after Laurence Roux had to wait a long time after the award ceremony in Portimao because of some investigations taking place. But eventually it was good news for the Luxembourgish team. They start behind 2 Cool Racing cars, and Nick Adcock slotted between them for RLRM Sport to start second in P3.
Yeah, Cool Racing have been very much on form all week. We've had the pre-season tests on Monday and Tuesday here. Final session, we saw the P2 car from the Swiss team top the times, and the 2 P3 cars 1-2 in the LMP3 numbers as well. So looking good. The overhead shot of the unique look of Paul Ricard. These high, what do we call it? High grip stripes, Johnny. This is a testament to its previous day job as a high technology test track. Huge variety of teams and cars tested here in between its 2 racing lives, but now very much back on the international racing arena, not least with the European Le Mans Series, of course, but also Formula 1 back in France and back at Paul Ricard, and proving to be a very popular venue up here in the hills above the French Riviera.
It's a great place to go racing, and also in the evening some fun places to visit for food and drink, and then to come back raring to go for race morning. Built in 1969, first started racing here in April 1970. So that's a number of years, as Graham's been mentioning, in the early part, but then it became purely a test track. But great to have Formula 1 racing back again. But the ELMS has been visiting certainly for the last best part of 10 years, maybe slightly longer than that. So not quite a spiritual home. That would definitely be Le Mans, but it's a wonderful place to start a French organised championship, although very much a European affair here in the south of France.
We've had the Marseillaise, the French national anthem. We now get the second motorsports hymn, and that is the sound of the air hammers going to work, getting the Goodyear tyres on the LMP2 cars and the GTE cars in European Le Mans Series. Michelin for the LMP3 runners to be a very important partners indeed of this series, this package that's been so successful in providing rungs on the ladder to feed into the FI World Endurance Championship. And the grid this year, Johnny, is absolutely stellar. 17 LMP2 cars, the biggest LMP2 grid outside of Le Mans anywhere in the world, supported by 13 LMP3s and a dozen GTE cars. And it's been an action-packed week so far. Not without its dramas for 1 or 2 of the teams, but they're all here, all in good order. One change to confirm this morning, and that will be that we're going to have a second 2-driver squad in LMP2. That will be for BHK Motorsport, because Francesco Dracconi has been called home for a family matter. So it will be the 35 car will be a 2-driver squad, as will the 19 car from Algarve Pro Racing with Ben Fiscal and Sophia Flörsch, another 2-driver squad. It's going to be interesting to see how all this actually pans out in the way in which the driver hours knit together.
Yeah, because if you're in the standard entry of LMP2, you must have a silver rated driver, but the other choices are essentially free. So we've got 1 or 2 platinums, looking at Patrick Pilet and Nicolas Lapierre. A great stack of golds, though. Pietro Fittipaldi, James Allen, Gabby Aubry, Nicolo Jamin, Nicholas Nielsen. Phil Hansen. So golds sprinkled in amongst the field. But however, if you want to run with a bronze-rated driver in LMP2, that was previously not possible. It has been allowed now, and this will be the second season that that's the case, but you must be entered into the Pro-Am part of LMP2. We caught a glimpse a moment or two ago of one of the cars within Pro-Am. That's the Racing Team Turkey machine for Sally Jolic, who was qualified yesterday in 4th position by Jack Aitken, his teammate, but it'll be the Turkish driver to do the opening stint from 4th. This is the 2nd place car, Phil Hansen gold variety to start, joined by Tom Gamble in the number 22 car, and Duncan Tappy, who moves up from LMP3 to an LMP2 car. And really excited to see how the silver rated Duncan Tappy will get on, joining now 2 golds, because Tom Gamble was champion last year, and he moves alongside effectively the same level as Phil Hansen, who was champion the previous year.
This is the pole position car from TDS Racing by Viant. We're keeping an eye, by the way, on the chat on YouTube, and you can drop questions into the booth through this race. Can't promise we're going to get to them immediately because it's going to be pretty action-packed, but one I can answer immediately comes in from Jan, and he asks whether or not the teams in the Michelin Le Mans Cup who raced yesterday will use the same cars in LMP3 in this particular case in the ELMS. The answer is no, none of them do. That's not the way it works with the European Le Mans Series. So the teams that are doing double duty are doing so with additional cars. And 31 LMP3 cars yesterday made a spectacular grid for what was a spectacular race over 2 hours. And remember, you can watch that, with the exception of Barcelona, for every one of the ELMS rounds this year. They'll be on the support package together with the Ligier European Series. It makes for a fantastic weekend of racing in the sunshine.
So 3 lots of qualifying yesterday to determine this starting grid, but we've got a few LMP2s at the back. More on that in a second. It'll be Tymon van der Helm to start the TDS Racing by Viant car, number 31, alongside Phil Hansen's United Autosports car. Then Lorenzo Colombo of Prema Racing. Yes, that Prema Racing from single-seaters, starting from 3rd alongside Racing Team Turkey's Sally Jolic. Julian Canal and Rodrigo Sales for Panis Racing, and Nielsen Racing will start from 5th and 6th places. One of those cars, the Nielsen car, is a Pro-Am, as is Francois Perraudot's AF Corsa car. Paul Lafargue, a former champion for EDEX Sport, starts 8th. Fabio Scherer for Inter-Europol competition 9th, and on his outside, Sophia Flörsch in the 10th place car for Algarve Pro Racing. Gabriel Aubry for Team Virage Duquesne, and Memo Rojas on the 6th row. For Moulner Motorsport, it's Matthias Kaiser to start, Sergio Campana alongside. Then Morris Smith in the number 17 Cool Racing car from pole position, the American alongside Nick Adcock. 2nd Cool Racing car will be started by Jean-Ludovic Fubert and Tom Van Rompuy alongside. Then it's Josh Cahill for United Autosports and Horst Felbermeyer Jr. for RLR M Sport. United Autosports 2nd car Jim Maguire alongside Tom Chloe for Euro International. Nielsen Racing, who were champions in the Michelin Le Mans Cup last year, for Middlesbrough man Tony Wells, and he has alongside him Matthews Kaptrich in first of the 2 Inter-Europol competition cars in P3. Then it's Charles Cruz and Ross Kaiser. Adrian Schiller for Euro International, and the pole sitter in GTE is Rinaldi Racing and Pierre Iret. Then it's Sam Dehan and Sarah Bovey for Oman Racing with TF Sport and Iron Links respectively. The 2 Proton competition Porsches are on the next row, Christian Reed in 77 and Michael Fassbender in 93. Absolute Racing's Andrew Harrianto has Giacomo Petrabelli for company, Christian Hook for Rinaldi Racing, and Takeshi Kumira in the Car Guy Kessel Racing run car. It's Duncan Cameron in 55 for Spirit of Race alongside Claudia Schiavone for Iron Links. The 2nd of the Oman Racing with TF Sport Aston Martin's John Hartshorn, and behind him, very unusually, it's Yifei Ye for Cool Racing. Didn't get a qualifying time yesterday in LMP2 number 37, and 2 more P2s, John Falb and David Drew for Algarve Pro Racing number 47 and Graf Racing number 40. I have checked the published grid sheet, and they do indeed start at the very back of the field, not at the back of the LMP2s, Graham.
That's going to make for a very exciting opening phase, as those 3 cars with some fast drivers. Ifeye very fast, John Falb, one of the quickest gentleman drivers out there, our reigning LMP2 Pro-Am champion, and David Drew was quick in Asia in his LMP2 debut earlier this year, and he's always been quick in LMP3, trying to make their way through what is a stacked GTE and LMP3 grid. Well, this one's going to be a cracker, Johnny. It is 10:55 here at Le Castellet, 17 degrees of heat, and it's rising, and I think the heat's rising on the grid as well. I'm looking forward to this one.
A few people making the observation yesterday that the tyre degradation state in LMP3 on this relatively abrasive surface and warm temperatures was higher than they had expected. It was Jerome de Sadalier and Freddie Hunt as well making the comment about tyres. So that's certainly something for some of the lesser experienced teams and drivers to be mindful of, because the LMP3s will be doing in 4 hours just about 4 stints, so 3 stops, 2 of which need to be to a minimum pit stop reference time. The remaining one, it doesn't have to be a third one, it can be at any point in the race, can be as quick as you like, but that adds an extra variable as well. But I do think tyre wear will be something to be observed, whether we're talking about Goodyears for the LMP2s and the GTEs, all of which now have a controlled Goodyear tyre, although of different compounds for the 2 different classes, and Michelin for LMP3. And they are built to wear well across something like a 45-minute stint for LMP2, longer though for the GTs and the LMP3s, more like 60, 65 minutes perhaps if there's a bit of full course yellow along the way. But it's not going to be plain sailing, that's for sure.
About to get this field underway.
So the cars are about to move off for the first time this year onto a green flag lap. It will be a solitary formation lap, and then we will be underway for a brand new season. But this is the point where the nerves start jangling, and if you're right in the middle of your pack, could be very tricky into turn 1, which is a natural pinch point.
Please follow the leading car.
And often we do see incident, whether anybody's fault or not, it's just lots and lots of cars all trying to go for the same bit of asphalt at the same time, and doesn't always end well. Green lights are now displayed, and the formation lap is underway. Quick onboard shot from the 65 car of Julien Canal, man based in Le Mans, and has been with Panis Racing for a number of years now, so well established with the 65 crew of Nico Jamin and Job van Uitert, who joins the 65 for season 2022. Looking from the rear of Michael Fassbender's Porsche, and listening to that mighty 4-litre flat 6 in the rear of the Porsche. Well, it's not quite in the rear these days, it's more to the middle of the car, in fact, after it was rotated through a couple of regulation sets ago. 69 Oman Racing with TF Sport Aston Martin. There are 2 of those. This is the 69 car that starts from 2nd position, with Sandahan taking the opening stint. But it was, in fact, Ahmed Al-Hati who did the qualifying time, as he must have done yesterday, as the bronze. Marco Sorensen to be driving that car, former Works Aston Martin driver, a little later.
Let's minimize the gaps as much as possible so that we can do it on the first attempt. Again, remind drivers, 2 lines of cars until they physically cross the start line under the start light gantry. 2 lines of cars. We gave penalties yesterday, let's not have to do it today again.
The clarity that comes with Eduardo Freitas, and we'll be blessed with Eduardo's race direction for 3 of the European Le Mans Series races this season. I gather all of the WEC, as well as his duties, which start in Barcelona for Formula 1. He'll be one of 2 race directors this year for the F1 package. But we'll have Eduardo for 3 of those races. He's joined in race control, and you'd heard the other voice a little earlier in the broadcast from Fayez Ramzi Fayez, the Bahraini official who was in charge for the tests earlier this week, and is here in the 2nd chair. Great to have him here at Paul Ricard, and will become a more familiar voice to international endurance racing fans, I'm sure, as we progress through the season.
So Tymon van der Helm at the moment happy to stay out in front of Phil Hansen, but in the next set of corners, probably the other side of Beausset, the double right, they'll be starting to grid up into a moving formation, 2x2, Noah's Ark style, to head across the line and take the, well, not quite the green lights, it'll just be the red lights that are extinguished, and we'll be firing into life for the next 240 minutes. We'll be doing about 6 stints for the LMP2s, and they are done at the pit stops as quick as the teams can turn the cars around, whether in Pro or Pro-Am. And it's a tricky pit lane entry, even though it's been adjusted in recent years, so no longer do the cars pull in having just come through turn 14. They're peeling off between 13 and 14 these days, but nevertheless it's an awkward entry, particularly if there are already cars in there in the early part of pit lane. So a fair bit of compromise required, and careful calculation when we get to that point for LMP2s. And of course, if there's a full course yellow or indeed a safety car, that really does put the cat amongst the pigeons, and the strategists will be earning their money on the pit wall today. This place wide open expanses, so sometimes we can get nice clean races. There are 1 or 2 gravel traps though, ready to catch cars out. So very patiently indeed, the field of LMP2s, LMP3s and GTEs as all part of the European Le Mans Series for 2022 funnel their way out of the final corner, and a brand new season for 2022 is go. Side by side down into Verrerie, and it is Timon van der Helm just about hanging on to things, although one car going straight on and to the lead of the race, which may well have been the Prema racing car of Lorenzo Colombo. Surely he'll have to give that place back again shortly, but they arrive at Virage de l'Hôtel in that order, turns 3, 4 and 5, back up the inside, so he did indeed concede the place, and to Phil Hansen as well. So Colombo, realising he'd gained a great deal of momentum by straight lining turn 2, allows the top 2 back through. So Van der Helm leads again, Phil, and that's for TDS Racing by Vaillant. United Autosport's Phil Hansen banging the second, and Colombo third for Prema Racing. In LMP3, Cool Racing's Maurice Smith still leading from pole position, and no change in GTE with Pierre Eret for Rinaldi Racing out front of those 12 cars.
Yeah, lots of tussling there, and tussling behind in LMP3 as they get that all sorted out. The 3 LMP2 starting at the back of the grid, already midway through the GTE pack as we get into sector 2. But fast and furious stuff already, Johnny.
Yeah, and we expect this to last probably for the whole race, certainly for the opening stint, as down the inside almost goes the BHK Motorsport car there. Sergio Campana starting that. Rodrigo Sales has lost a number of places from his starting position in the Nielsen Racing car. That's a Pro-Am machine, remember, and starting with the bronze. So all expected there, as now through the left-hander at Bendor and through Virage du Gare-le-Bain, the LMP3 pack go for the first time, reaching the tricky left-hander at Virage du Lac, right next to the lake, and now to Bridge Corner to finish things off. Tiny little manoeuvre up the inside there from Charles Cruz, and that was on all but a schmozzle at the end of the lap though, and I think one spinner with cars having to go left and right. Yes, yellow flags confirming an incident there. The race leaders in LMP2 will not know a great deal about that though. It's the number 3 car that has gone for a spin, Jim Maguire.
Yeah, and we saw a number of cars struggling at that point in the track earlier. Bit of a brush with the 14 car, and there is debris there. At least three cars going off in avoidance. That's going to be a delay. So join back in with the front of the field. Those 3 late starting LMP2s, or back of the grid starting LMP2s, already midway through the LMP3 pack. Double yellow still at turn 14. Let's wait and see if Jim Maguire can get that car restarted.
So down the Mistral straight, reaching terminal velocity around about now for the LMP2s. They need to get the car set up though for senior corner and hope that the balance is there this early on in the race. Tyres probably still coming up to temperature. The Goodyears are very durable indeed. Peak performance found in qualifying yesterday. They will be going back to those qualifying tyres though, because the tyres are heavily restricted in this championship, and having to lean on particularly that rear left at senior. There's a drama though in GTE for one of the a couple of Aston Martins. It's the second place car. It's
one of the cars that went off in avoidance, and whatever's happened there, whether or not it was damage over the curbs in avoidance or whether or not it was a secondary impact, is Sam de Haan is stationary on the start-finish straight. There's an inevitability of an intervention here, isn't there? 2 cars in the line of fire, at least 1 car in the line of fire. It might be that's why we've got the double yellow. Just lucky to see. In fact, yes, Jim Maguire has got going again. No such luck for Sam de Haan by the look of things.
So Sam's the silver in the Aston Martin that started from second position after really good qualifying yesterday for Ahmed Al-Hati, and the man from Ashford in Kent now just waiting patiently for instructions perhaps as to what to do next, but race control might force the issue to go full course yellow. The car is still stranded there. That's not a nice place to be sitting. Double wave yellows covering Dahan's car for the time being as the GTE runners go through and put Sam a lap down effectively. Pierre Eret for Rinaldi Racing ahead of Christian Reed in the 77 Proton Competition Porsche. He's made a number of places in the early stages ahead of Sarah Bovey for Iron Lynx number 83 and Andrew Harrianto Absolute Racing Porsche car 18.
Yeah, and then next car up, Michael Fassbender with a good start for the race of the 93 Porsche. So after a stellar finish to the season in Portimao, he's in the mix here, very much in the mix. This is the lead group though.
It is, yeah.
All four of them. It's a safety car. I'm not surprised about that. Safety car is going to come out for the recovery of Sam Dahan's Aston Martin. So those early gaps will be negated.
And the reason why a safety car decision is relatively easy to make is because we're so early on in the race. No one's had a chance to pit yet, so there's no danger of getting out of sequence or benefiting, losing out because of a safety car. Just bunch the whole field up and effectively call a restart. Yes, we've had 2 and almost 3 laps of the race, but bunch everybody up because they've certainly not had much of a chance to change order a great deal. Later on, had we been right in the middle of a pit stop cycle, I'm sure full course yellow might have been the obvious choice.
Already in, and that will be Jim McGuire for attention. We saw some debris there. Let's hope it's not one of the legality panels on the rear of this car, because we know maybe this is a replay of the start, Johnny.
Yeah, so Tymon van der Helm got away well, as in fact did Lorenzo Colombo in the Prema racing car. So Phil Hansen caught a little bit napping there on the outside of the front row, assuming they were all in the right order as they crossed the white line, of course, and that will all be under investigation. But then, reaching the first left-hander at the S-bend at Verrerie, it meant that Lorenzo Colombo, on cold tyres and coolish brakes as well, couldn't get the car stopped. He's the silver in the Prema racing crew and had to go straight on at turn 2, took the lead as a result, but then gave that back again, and in fact a place back to Phil Hansen as well. I don't like the look of that rear bodywork on the rear right of the number 3.
The right-hand side of it, there's definitely the legality panel there, what we call the cheese really, is definitely not as the maker intended.
Now, as long as it's still displaying a red light and it's kind of straight, I think that'll be okay. But if it starts to fall off, then that's more of a concern. Didn't see an impact with the 69, but yes, he did. He got a hit, didn't he? Well, that's the Aston getting a hit.
That's what I mean. That is the 69. So he did take a hit from the rear. So quite what that's done, whether or not it's bent an exhaust, whether or not it's damaged suspension, but either way, Sam Dahan clearly not able to bring that car around to the pits at this point. I'm not sure it was Jim McGuire's car that hit the Aston. No, it was something that happened as reaction in the pack. It was the problem is it was rear right, I think. So it's very strong chance that it's done a drive shaft there. That's horrible luck. Because if the rear wheel's been pushed in by any small amount, then you're messing about with drivetrain there, and transfers the shock into the transaxle. Yeah, absolutely, horrible, it's not good. What a shame. Great looking car, by the way. Just a shame we're not going to see it beyond this point, but later on in the season, of course, we will. In about a month's time, we'll be racing at Imola, and Omar Racing by TF Sport, another car, another bullet in the gun, effectively, which is the 95 of John Hartzell, but they were standing more of a chance of a podium result, arguably, with this car. So, looking at the order behind the safety car, as round they come, it's Tymon van der Helm leading this race from Phil Hansen. Lorenzo Colombo, the late replacement for injured Juan Manuel Correa. We will see Juan Manuel out, I'm sure, later this season. Was here, not sure he's here today, but was here during the test earlier in the week after suffering a stress fracture, I think, of his left ankle. Painful injury. Fabio Scherer for Inter Europol is running 4th. Panis Racing with Julian Canal. Sophia Flörsch with a great start, and the number 19 car, that's the top 6. In LMP3, Cool Racing and Mo Smith had got away. That, unfortunately for Mo, is going to be rather negated by this safety car period. He's in the number 17 Cool Racing car. Into Europol with a great start. The number 13 car in the hands of Charles Cruz. Had a great race yesterday, the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Ife Ye, by the way, is up to 18th in this order. John Falb has gone by Ife Ye before we got into the safety car period, as has David Drew. Third in LMP3, RRM Sport, in the hands of Nick Adcock in the number 5 car. Then the second co-racing car, the 27 car rather, in the hands of Jean-Ludovic Fubert and Tom van Ruppe in the D-Car Engineering 4. That makes 5. In GTE, it is Rinaldi Racing and Pierre Verret in the 32 Ferrari that leads, from Sarah Bovey in the 83, a Ferrari 1-2. Then we've got the 3 Porsches in line astern, the 77 in the hands of Christian Reed, team principal at Proton Competition. Absolute Racing's Andrew Harrianto, welcome to them to the European Le Mans Series in the 18, 911 RSR 19, and then Michael Fassbender rounds out the top 5 before the 66 JMW Motorsport Ferrari, and there it is actually just going through. You can see the silver rear panel of that car. It is a red livery for the JMW Motorsport team. The first time since they entered the series in 2008 in the Le Mans Series that they've raced a full season car in anything other than the yellow-based livery.
Good knowledge.
It has actually raced at Le Mans in WeatherTech colours just the once. James Allen there from the Algarve Pro Racing team. APR branding there. But around they go behind the safety car. Incident involving cars 3 and 69, and 14. So 14, the other car involved in that. That's the second of the Inter-Europol cars, which would look to be the one that possibly had the impact with the Oman Racing by TF Sport car.
I think
such a shame.
I mean, the way that we saw it on the onboard camera from car 69, there was just a bang, a clear vibration, but as to which car was involved, very difficult to tell. Some great drone footage of the start of the race, bang on 11 o'clock this morning, and a good getaway initially from Lorenzo Colombo. He actually threaded the eye of the needle there between Tijmen van der Helm and Phil Hansen, but then van der Helm gave him no space whatsoever around the outside of the S-bend at Vellery, and it meant that Colombo ended up on the runoff area. He was carrying a bit too much speed, I reckon, as well, and consequently the Prema Racing car, which briefly led the race, had to concede 2 places. There's been no need for a wave by because everybody's still on the lead lap, i.e. lap 5, which is about to be completed. The safety car will come in though at this point, and this will extend the LMP2, well, all the stints, but we'll straight out the window. The second and third place cars very close to one another indeed still. Tijmen van der Helm for TDS Racing by Vaillant and Lorenzo Colombo for Prema Racing. And as those two squabble, Phil Hansen has built himself nearly a 2-second lead for United Autosports in car 22. It's also very tight here. That's the change of lead in LMP3, is it not? Across the line will go CR Cruz. Yes, LMP3 new leader into Europol competition ahead of Maurice Smith for Cool Racing.
Mo Smith going for the inside line here. Not going to quite make it, I think. Charles Cruz has got that one done. Yellow flags at turn 10, meanwhile. It's car 15 that has stopped there. That's bad news for RRM Sports. It's Urs Feldmeier Jr. in the blue and yellow coloured RLR car. That's where the move was made. Daily Sports Cars, David Lord walks in front of the camera.
Another safety car.
And that'll be for the 15. It's in the wall. Oh, dear me. Tried to catch it, almost did, but had lost the opportunity to pull that car up before the car clattered into the concrete wall. It's in the line of fire, and the safety car is called for the second time in the first 30 minutes.
So Horst Feldmeier Jr., that will have certainly grabbed his attention, and there'll be some concern for Horst initially to get the medical crews to him, because it was a big old hit into the concrete wall, which does not give whatsoever. No. The car looking very skew-whiff indeed. I think most of that is aesthetics, though.
Yeah, there definitely was something. It's high on the front left corner.
Yes.
Which indicates we've got some damage at the rear right.
Both headlights still work, though, which is impressive. They build these Ligiers very toughly indeed.
Yeah, so good to see Horst Feldmeier. He was with us at the European Le Mans Series for the series finale.
Last question. You're in Portimao, starting off the season here. What's the plan for you? You're doing the whole season, and what's it like to be back?
Yeah, I've raced in 4 hours of Portimao and the Asian Le Mans Series in the past few months. So we are focusing on the ELMS and keep on the endurance career.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guilherme, Oliveira of Portugal, so likes to go to the home race at the end of the season, no doubt. In comes the safety car. We are racing again. Phil Hansen is out front by not as much as he was at the point where the safety car kicked in, which was about 2 seconds. So all that hard work to do again to fend off Timon van der Helm for TDS, Prema Racing and Lorenzo Colombo, they're Italian, and Swiss driver Fabio Scherer for Inter-Europol competition. There he is in the yellow and green car, working his way through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, 17 LMP2 cars started this 4-hour race, 17 of them running in positions. Guess what? 1 to 17 at the moment. Then we've got the LMP3 pack headed, as we're just saying, by the number 13 Inter-Europol car before we get down into the GTEs. And it's at the moment, it's been a batch of the LMP3 cars that have been in some of those woes. The 14 car with that penalty, Your Internationals 10 we saw with the spin, the 3 of United Autosports with a pit stop after damage from contact from number 14, and unfortunately 15 out of the race, together with the 69 Aston Martin, again after we think double contact from the 14 at turn 14 early in the race that brought out the first of 2 safety cars, Johnny.
Down the Mistral they go. Just heading up the hill, very slight incline at the end of this long straight, and through Senior Corner, where in an LMP2, it's almost the faster you go, the better you're going to go through that corner, because the invisible hand that downforce helps you out an awful lot. It is 3 abreast on the Mistral straight in LMP3, and that's not quite for the race lead, but the middle order is going to change an awful lot as they crest the rise. Round the outside is the recovering Jim Maguire car, in fact, so he's trying to stay out of this as much as possible as the rest of the field funnel through. Tom Van Rompuy right at the front of that little pack for third, DKR Engineering.
And in the mix there, both of the cool racing cars with Mo Smith and Jean-Ludovic Thubert made their way past the number 3 car. Did well to just stay out of that, Jim Maguire. But yeah, that was very wide. 3 wide and 2 wide behind them in a pack of 5, coming into one of the fastest turns in motorsports. That's a deep breath moment.
Ross Kaiser will be incredibly grateful to have been out of that. He's been building his lead, or trying to at least. 8/10 of a second it sits at now from Van Rompuy's car. And Kaiser, therefore, trying to take the chase to see our Cruz. He's less than a second now to the rear of the Cruz-driven Inter-Europol competition car. Back with GTEs, Sarah Bovey is leading in the pink Iron Lynx Ferrari, but 2 Porsches all over the back of her, including Christian Reed, who thought about a move around the outside at turn 1 there, but Bovey can't get past the United Autosports car, which I think, again, is the number 3 machine.
Yep.
So Bovey in the Iron Lynx number 83, with Christian Reed now just over her left shoulder and trying to...
Does it?
Yeah, got through, but trying to thread their way through as well, the Inter-Europol competition car of Charlie Cruz.
Both sides of the number 3 car for the 2 black Porsches, and that was Andrea Harrianto having to take to the runoff, and now under pressure from the 66 JMW car, almost a brush of mirrors there, and I think the JMW car's got it done. Here comes Michael Fassbender as well, and maybe on both of them. Goes to the outside of the JMW car. I think he's got the position, you know. He got a great run out of turn 7. It's a drag race down the Mistral straight, and he's got the Porsche's nose ahead. 2 positions out of turn 7. Great move there from Michael Fassbender.
But 3 cars right behind him, all looking for the inside line at Senior, including the JMW Motorsport car, but he can't get there. So Petrobelli has to just follow Fassbender through that corner. Trying to gain a place is Tom Cloet. This is all for position as LMP3s trying to untangle themselves from GTs. We've had such a truncated start with 2 safety cars. Sarah Bovey is still leading from the black and gold car of Christian Reed. Michael Fassbender is up to 3rd position now in GTE, although it's level pegging with Petrobelli.
Petrobelli gets that position back. Great run from Fassbender in the middle part of this lap, but Petrobelli's recovered one of the positions there.
The arrows on this screen for Fassbender can't keep up. Green arrow, amber arrow, red arrow, they're all over the place. That's trying to tell him where the next threat is going to come from. He needs eyes everywhere.
That system, by the way, is a system with radar at the rear interior of the car. It's common to many race cars in endurance racing now to try to help the drivers to make sense out of this motorised mayhem. Haryanto goes through on Fassbender. This is just changing at every turn. It's great stuff with the LMP3 cars getting mixed in with the GTE cars. Sometimes faster in a straight line, the GTEs, slower through the turns, not quite as nimble on the brakes. Here comes a dive bomb from the number 10 car from Euro International. Goes up the inside of Michael Fassbender. This will get itself sorted out in about 3 hours and 23 minutes.
So back to the relative serene picture of Inter-Europol competitions CR Cruz and Ross Kaiser for 360 Racing in the two-tone blue livery. So that's your top two in LMP3. They are very pleased to not be in the mayhem behind, and both have built this cushion of just over 3 seconds. Then you got Tom van Rompuy, who's making a break for freedom as well for DKR Engineering, but Maurice Smith still stuck in the craziness, along with John Ludovic Foubert for Cool Racing. So the two teammates at Cool virtually nose to tail. Nick Adcock is running in 6th place in LMP3. GT's reaching senior corner again. Petrobelli's got back up to 3rd for JMW Motorsport. 4th place now is actually Andrew Haryanto in the Absolute Racing car. So Fassbender climbed its way to 3rd, now back to 5th. That's Duncan Cameron trying to find a way through underneath Pierre Eret on the exit of Beausset. Didn't quite work though.
This is great stuff in GTE. It's that restart having just pulled the cars together with a couple of delayed LMP3s into the mix, and this is what you get. Great entertainment.
Fassbender on the brakes, worming his way out of Virage du Lac. They head through the right-hander at DuPont now to complete another 5.7 kilometre circuit. There's a warning flag for car 32, which was the pole sitter in GTE. That's Pierre Eret's Ferrari for potential abuse of track limits. So they're keeping a watching eye on that car and many others, I'm sure, as the 5th place fight in GTE reaches Verrerie again. The switchback, the S-bend at turns 1 and 2, and then this short, sharp burst of a straight towards Virage de l'Hôtel. So Fassbender, Eret, Cameron, Porsche, Ferrari, 5th, 6th and 7th in GTE as Phil Hansen arrives back at turn 14. Virage DuPont as the race leader overall. Towards the end of lap 18, 2.2 seconds his lead advantage.
Yep, 2.2 seconds. Phil Hansen from Timon van der Helm. Lorenzo Colombo still hanging on there in 3rd place, and Fabio Scherer right there too. Julian Canal under pressure from Sophia Flörsch. Duncan Cameron tucked right underneath the rear wing of the first of those two red Ferraris. This is the Spirit of Race car, the number 55 car. Duncan, both these men very experienced endurance racers. Part of our talented and hugely enthusiastic gentleman drivers contingent. Looks for an inside line, he's not got room there. That's cost him coming through the turn there.
Be interested to see whether Cameron though can build some momentum coming out at Beausset. He had a very good run on Eret a lap ago in exactly the same position on the track. Christian Hook's not very far away from joining that squabble as well, so we'll have 3 Ferraris altogether for 6th, 7th and 8th very shortly. The 2 Rinaldi Racing entries and Spirit of Race, the meat in the sandwich. As nose to tail for, where is that now for the 34 car, 10th position, Sally Jolic in the Racing Team Turkey car, ahead of Paul Lafargue, Memo Rojas and Sergio Campana for BHK Motorsport. 4 cars line astern.
Indeed, and 4 cars line astern for that single 10th position. This is the final one in that train. As we said at the start of the race, this will be a 2-driver effort for the 35 BHK car. Francesco Draconi called home for urgent matters there. So it will be Sergio Campana and Marcus Pommer only. So that makes it just one of 2 cars in the LMP2 race with just 2.
And may well become not quite the 4th retirement. It'll be the 3rd car out of the race, and we haven't yet hit an hour. Let's just have a look. It is definitely an LMP2 Orica, and the paint scheme would fit.
I think it's almost certainly. I'm just
with the Rodrigo Salles car that you were talking about.
It is.
So, yeah, as I say, whether there was contact or not, that happened prior to the cars entering frame. but Jean-Ludovic Foubert was already in a mighty moment at senior corner and has collided with the tyre barrier on the outside as well. Thankfully, the car was already through 180 degrees, so speed was being scrubbed off. But the scars can be seen on the front right there, and it's tattered all the way down the right-hand side. I'm perplexed why there was fluid pouring out the left kind of sill of that car as well. Might just be the sheer impact that the car took, but Foubert has done an incredibly good job to get the car home. Unfortunately, that rear tyre letting go very early on though, and it's left an awful lot of debris for the marshals to clear up under not only double waved yellows, but of course the safety car as well.
So remember, if you are watching us on the YouTube stream, do drop in a question or two on the safety car. We have a little bit of time to fill some of this space. It's all about helping people to understand sports car racing, the European Le Mans Series, the world of the ACO's pyramid, and we'll be happy to answer any questions if we can, as we're here and circulating on the safety car while there's a bit of a clear up.
The pit lane again will be closed for the first 3 laps of this safety car period, unless you need to get in to replace a puncture. You are permitted to do that, and to give your car 5 seconds of fuel. Actually, all of the LMP2s had pitted prior to this third safety car, so we shouldn't have anybody short on fuel in the top class. LMP3 will be fine now to well beyond the hour, you have to think. I'm not sure whether the 27 car is done, because they've just taken the nose off that car and looking to try and replace it as more debris is being towed away. No, it's being rather the track's being cleaned, isn't it?
That's right. It's basically got a cleaning element on the rear of that. It's got chains, I think, just to drag debris with it.
I actually saw one side of it and I thought, blimey, that's a big old chunk of LMP3 that requires a quad bike. But no, they are cleaning the track very efficiently indeed, and the rest of the carbon fibre being recovered as well as quickly as possible. Don't need any splinters of bodywork left on the racetrack, particularly at sea, because it will be so easy for punctures to be picked up by following cars.
Glenn Shaw on the YouTube stream asks, what's the difference between an LMP2 and LMP3? Well, generally speaking, technology, speed, power, aerodynamics and cost. Although both cars are cost capped, what does that mean? It means the manufacturers of the chassis are only allowed to charge up to a certain level for those cars, including the spares package. And that means that these, typically, the Orica that's leading the race here is significantly less expensive a package as it sits on your drive or in your garage than one of the GTE cars further back. It's all about accessibility of sports car racing to the professional motorsport teams and to the gentleman drivers that tend to own these cars, but a significant difference in cost. All of the LMP2 cars here are Oricas, but there is the option for other chassis manufacturers, 4 of them in fact. All are driven or are powered by the same Gibson V8 engine, whereas in the LMP3 cars it is again the same drivetrain package. It's a Nissan 5.6 litre engine with an X-Track gearbox. That comes as a package, whether or not you're with a Ligier, a Duquesne, or the 2 other makes we don't have here this weekend from Ginetta and Ades. So it's all about accessibility and the cost, and with that we'll look at the numbers of cars we've got. You have to say they've been successful in their aims and objectives with that. So that's the difference. Glenn, numbers in terms of the cost of these, as we this time are going to have a wave bar.
Yeah, I'm just going to explain what's happening here, because one or two might be thinking, why on earth is Michael Fassbender and the Ferrari behind, which will be one of the two Rinaldi racing cars? It's Mimo Gidley most likely being permitted to pass the safety car. Well, that's because effectively the overall leader has got between the GTE class leader and where Fassbender and Gidley are, and rather than put them a lap down falsely, they weren't a lap down on the GTE leader Sarah Bovey before the safety car. They're being given the majority of that lap back again to tack onto the back of the GTE field.
This is Michael, not Mikkel Jensen, 2 Danish drivers with similar names, and this notes the fact we're closing it on
Completed, and that was definitely an Aston Martin that would have been well up there, battling with these cars, no doubt. Sarah Bovey in the pink Iron Lynx Ferrari number 83 on the inside of Pierre Herret to take the race lead at the time in the GTE category. Some lead that she's never given up since then, despite the pressure from Christian Reed, Giacomo Patrabelli and Duncan Cameron in more recent times. Mo Smith, the number 17 car, could not hold back car 13, which was started by CR Cruz, and Cruz not going to be invited twice into turn 14, a classic Le Castellet manoeuvre to bag the LMP3 top spot. A spin for Michael Fassbender, also a massive off for Jean-Ludovic Foubert, giving a helping hand, according to the team, by Rodrigo Sales in the Nielsen car, number 24. So contact being made at senior corner, and that was the result. Then the first of the pit stops, including this for Phil Hansen. They couldn't get the front left tyre and wheel off as quickly as their rivals at TDS Racing, so valuable time was lost there for the Yorkshire squad. Phil Hansen rejoining, in fact, in 6th position. We have had 3 safety cars, but now hopefully a sustained amount of running. This is the latest incident, a spin for the 51 Virage and the 47 Algarve Pro Racing cars. So this is how LMP2 looks, with TDS Racing by Vaillant, driven by Timon van der Helm, leading by almost 2 seconds from the Prema Racing Lorenzo Colombo driven Orica 07. Then it's into Europol competition of Poland, ahead of Algarve Pro Racing, United Autosports and Cool Racing, the top 6. A little further down the order in 11th position, 35 BHK Motorsport and Mulner Motorsport, making the step up to LMP2 for 2022. Into Europol competition have 2 cars in the top 3 in LMP3 after just over an hour, they being CR Cruz and Matthias Kacic. Sandwiched between them, Ross Kaiser for 360 Racing running second. 4th position in LMP3 is United Autosports, and in GTE it is the Iron Lynx Sarah Bovey driven Ferrari number 83 ahead of Christian Reed's Proton competition Porsche and Giacomo Petrabelli for JMW Motorsport, their red and silver car for this year. Number 66 is ahead of Spirit of Race and Duncan Cameron, and the Kessel Racing yellow Ferrari for Takeshi Kimura.
So also on pit lane, by the way, after that double spin, that synchronised spin, is the 47 Algarve Pro Racing car, John Falb, in a bit of trouble there. So we'll wait and see whether or not that is trouble or just a regular pit stop for the 47. I suspect the former. Meantime, Sarah Bovey 3.5 seconds ahead of Christian Reed in what's been a pretty stellar stint from the Belgian, comes in now for what will be the first regular stop for the GTE cars. This is pushing the envelope of fuel consumption beyond its normal about an hour because of those safety car interventions. The Iron Lynx crew get to work. One of 2 cars from Iron Lynx in their own name. This, of course, the Iron Danes all-female crew car, the 60 car in the bright yellow livery. We'll see, I'm sure, later. And Iron Lynx also combining with Prema to field the number 9 car that is currently running second overall. That's something of an Italian super team now. 37 car through on the 22.
Yeah, good move that from Yifei.
What a recovery from him. And yeah, Phil Hansen didn't like that, so we're going to hurl a little bit of side to side.
Yifei's going to have the inside line for Verrerie this time around, so can he keep Phil Hansen honest? Phil surely going to try around the outside, no, thinks better of it. I think if this had been the final lap, then he definitely would have kept the car on the right-hand side and made things very difficult indeed for Yifei through turn 2, but with 2 hours and 47 minutes to go, very much about playing the percentage game, staying in the running for as long as possible. So Yifei rattling over the curbs there at turn 5, running in 5th position now, just 2 seconds adrift of 4th placed Sophia Flörsch.
Yeah, Yifei, the defending champion, of course, and also was champion last year in the Asia Le Mans Series, first driver ever to hold those 2 titles in the same calendar year. Picked up by Porsche Motorsport Asia Pacific as their nominated driver for this year, and therefore now in the Porsche family at a very exciting time for sports car racing. And what sits ahead of the Chinese driver? Well, you can guess, really, can't you? Leader of LMP3 into the pits, Charles Cruz, comes in, and the 14 car, the other Inter-Europol car, takes over in the lead of the race. Tony Wells, by the way, who hasn't yet stopped, running second. 14 car has stopped, but that was a penalty. It was a drive-through for the 14. So the 14 owes us a regular stop.
Matthias Kaprich is due in perhaps next time around, but rather than make things difficult at inter-Europol competition, I should say, don't pit the cars on the same lap, pit them a lap apart, and there will be a bit more room to play with for the Polish outfit. Nielsen Racing running now second for Tony Wells. Tom Cloet for Euro International in third spot with the number 10. And the GTE leaders are as high up as 20th position now, because many of them haven't stopped. So Takeshi Kimura enjoying his moment in the sunshine in the car guy-backed 57 Ferrari. Claudio Schiavone also hasn't come down pit road just yet. Mimo Gidley, the best of those cars that have made a stop though, running in fourth position.
So the 66 car, JMW, 15 seconds will be added here for an earlier infringement under caution. Get a good chance to see the not very yellow livery on the car.
So Kimura now leading GTE. He may well be on an in-lap now, actually. Christian Hoog's not very far away, also hasn't yet stopped. And Claudio Schiavone in the number 60, bright yellow Ferrari.
There it is.
Heading out of Beausset corner. All of these cars owing us a pit stop. Once they come in, should be Mimo Gidley as mentioned, but there's another car in. This is from second position as things stand, with Tony Wells making his stop. Tom Cloet stays out. Matthias Kaprich for inter-Europol competition does dive in, as I was suggesting he might. So 14 and 7 from first and third. First and second, in fact, in. Tom Cloedo wanting to do another lap, and he thinks, the team think at Euro International, that fuel will allow that.
Car 17 from Cool Racing is going to get a drive-through for abusing track limits. We're going to see a bit of that, I'm afraid, today.
There's the 24 car, the one that... with a puncture, in fact. Now, is this a legacy of what happened a little earlier on with the Cool Racing car? If contact indeed was made with the Nielsen 24 of Rodrigo Sales, it's going slowly out of the Double Droite de Beausset and on towards Bendor corner, rear left going down.
It's the correct corner, isn't it? On the car, I mean, rather than on the track, for it to be a legacy issue of that contact.
Yifei really pushing hard now for Sophia Flörsch and Fabio Scherer. Scherer is in the inter-Europol green and yellow, then the blue of Algarve Pro Racing, and you briefly can't even see Yifei. He is so tightly bunched behind this duo, but Sophia Flörsch is the one to move first to the outside as they approach senior corner. Still got about a third of the Mistral straight to go, maybe three abreast into senior. Oh, and Yifei gets the two of them. Unbelievable move on the inside as they head for turn 8.
Excellent move, and also Phil Hansen just took advantage of the lift there from the inter-Europol car. He's come through as well. Great move from Yifei, great move from Sophia Flörsch, and a great move as well from Phil Hansen. 24 car, by the way, has made it back to pit lane.
So the big loser there, Fabio Scherer, must have wondered what on earth was going on as three cars were approaching at great speed. And he is no slouch either. The former United Autosports racer, Phil Hansen, in the colours that Fabio will know well, slotting ahead and pitching the inter-Europol competition car all the way down to 6th position. So Yifei third, Sophia Flörsch fourth, Phil Hansen fifth, and into the pits, in fact, goes Fabio Scherer from 6th position. Going to be some new bodywork for another inter-Europol competition car. This is the P3, which will be, which of the two, 13 or 14? 13's out on track, so 14 driven by Matthias Kaprich. A big delay here. Kaprich came in from the lead, as it was, in LMP3, and they're needing to change the nose on that car. They've obviously spotted some damage, or maybe the car is being slowed by the lack of a dive plane.
Slightly chaotic end to the pit stop there. They've sent the 24 car. That's the mess that was the remains of the Goodyear, and I think you're right, Johnny. That would have been a legacy from the clash with the 27 car. On their way now, the 24. 43 on pit lane as well for inter-Europol. Fabio Scherer drops back down the order. We're still 40 minutes from halfway in this race. Plenty of action still to come.
Yeah, the Shearer pit stop, he certainly pitted once for fuel and had to come in again, but this is way too early for pit stop number 2. So whether he's had a complaint, which might be linked to the fact that he's just been overtaken by 4 cars. Duncan Cameron is struggling on the back straight. That Spirit of Race Ferrari was going very slowly indeed and being overtaken by fellow members of the GTE field. BHK Motorsports LMP2, Sergio Campana under a lot of pressure here from Paul Lafargue.
Full course yellow coming.
Red and yellow, in the red and white of Edex Sport. But it's the full course yellow either for Debris or is it for the stranded Duncan Cameron car? The 55 has reached Beausset, in fact.
Yeah.
As another car peels off into the pit lane. And that will be identified very shortly. But the first full course yellow of the race so far. So we've had 3 safety cars.
It's quite unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we've gone safety car on every single occasion prior to this. But an hour and 20 minutes in, there's Duncan Cameron's slow-moving car. Is that a tyre going down?
I think I just spotted the 34 car in trouble on the start-finish straight. It wasn't slowing to full course yellow speed. It was slowing what looked like to a stop. But maybe that was just a faulty speed limiter on the car. Duquesne, number 30 car on pit road, the black and green Orica.
Yes, just hearing from Jeff Carter, the press officer for the championship, the ELMS, that it is debris at turn 14, the reason for the full course yellow. So that to be recovered, and it coincides with Duncan Cameron's car that was limping home.
Yeah.
And it arrives now on pit lane.
This will help Duncan in that the field is back at, whatever the problem is, back at full course yellow speed. He's not lost as much time as he otherwise would. They'll fuel the car in any case. No sign he's going to do anything other than get, looks like 1 tyre. It is 1 tyre. So 1 Goodyear Eagle onto, it's the front right. And away he goes.
I did wonder whether it was a front tyre that had got let go, but wasn't convinced by any of the angles we'd been seen to commit to that. There aren't the same restrictions for a full course yellow. It's not a pit lane closure, so they could have changed all 4 if they'd wished, but they don't want to lose that much time.
As we're under full course yellow, by the way, back into the race has come the number 47 Algarve Pro racing car. That was one of the 2 cars that had that synchronised spin with the 51, and it is Alex Peroni that actually joins the race for the first time. 11 minutes, sadly, though, on pit lane for the number 47, and that's hurt their prospects. The defending champions, or the defending champion, with John Falb and with Algarve Pro Racing in LMP2 Pro-Am.
Sally Jolich taking a moment to pull out from the hot air that is being emitted from the BHK Motorsport car, driven by Sergio Campana, to try and keep engine temperature as low as possible, particularly when there's not the airflow across the car. Damage
on the front of that BHK car, on the front right, the dive plane. And yes, these cars do have dive planes in the LMS. There was a question earlier. A different specification of LMP2 in the European Le Mans Series from the FI World Endurance Championship. It's, these cars run the non-Le Mans kit, the higher downforce but draggier bodywork kit, which does include the dive planes that don't feature this year on the WEC cars. Other than that, they are mechanically identical. The other question about LMP2, why all Oricas? There you can see there the dive plane dragging. It's simply, this is what's emerged through the history of these cars, is that we have had Multimatics, Ligiers, Dallaras. In fact, Dallara won a race here in the European Le Mans Series not so very long ago. And what's emerged is, for a variety of reasons, that the teams, it's their choice, have chosen to go the Orica route. And we're closing in, by the way, on the Magic 100 Orica 07s since this car was first introduced in 2017. That number includes the chassis for the American-based DPIs, the Acura DPIs, but the vast majority have been LMP2 cars.
It's kind of very similar to the open chassis era of Formula 3, when you could choose a free choice of chassis, but everybody chose Dallara to go racing with because it was the best bit of kit. And substitute Orica 07 for Dallara, and we have the same situation in LMP2 racing currently.
To just